Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again. I am Neha Dhyani, and today we have amazing speaker lined up, Gunjan Chillar. So let me just give you a very brief introduction about Gunjan. Gunjan comes with an experience of more than 5 years into cybersecurity space. She is currently working with Lucidius Technology as a solution architect. And as I see that, her aim is to strengthen the security posture of the organizations, which is going in the right direction. So far so good. And let me just give you a brief. So today Gunjan will be covering the topic, the people risk, the heart of the cybersecurity. So Gunjan, the floor is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Neha, for the warm welcome, and thank you, InfoSec Girls platform, for having me here. Uh, Let me just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Neha, if you can give me a confirmation whether you're able to see my
Yes,
screen.
we can see. Yes, we can see.
Sure. Thank you so much. So today's topic is about one of the most important element in the cybersecurity space, which is the risk associated with the people. Right. So today I'm going to be covering the relevance, importance, and the implications of the people element as well as the risk associated with them. Let's get started. Um, to give you the introduction of the topic, why people risk is important to consider, I would like to start with a story here. The About one of the most recent hack that has happened, in Twitter. So it was just another day for Parag Agrawal, the CTO of Twitter, and everything seemed to be normal on the service side. Uh, by the mid morning, suddenly distress signals started to filter through the organization. A lot of key Twitter handlers started posting about asking bitcoins from their followers, and the key accounts included that of politicians, celebrities, and entrepreneurs, including Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos' son. So soon thereafter, every single notification mode that Agarwal had started buzzing, email, Slack, text notifications, and whatnot. Something was horribly wrong. Twitter was attacked. Now, the Twitter team did not know how all this happened and what to do next. So, they basically started analyzing the attack, and they were just trying to understand the scenario, and everybody was feeling the need to respond, but again they were clueless on what to do next. So they were wondering whether to shut a couple of accounts or shut all of them. If the attack is coming from the inside, should we trust anybody or not? Soon, after that, what happened is they started onboarding people to the model, which security professional called a zero trust model, wherein they're asked every single employee to get on a video call with their supervisor and change their credentials in front of them. Now yeah, to change their credentials in front of them. After the investigation, they found that there was a phishing attack that happened on their customer service representatives, and some of them reported this incident to the security team, but a few of the gullible ones, they went accommodating, wherein they visited the dummy site created by the attacker, and since they were asked to reset their credentials, they used their credentials to log in there in a way that served up their username, their password, as well as the multi-factor authentication tokens. So this is a classic example of how lack of infosec awareness in people could lead to such big impact and bringing the entire business to a standstill. Now, continuing the conversation, I would like to ask you a question here. How many times have you heard about, a bank or a financial institution or a payment gateway, especially like in India? getting breached. It's very rare, right? On the other hand side, how many times have you heard about individuals, coming to you and telling you that, my net banking got hacked and I lost this amount of money, and the attack says it was done through some e-wallet like Paytm. I don't know what to do. So now in both these spaces, what is the difference? Why there is so huge gap in terms of number of incidents that are reported with your financial institution as compared to the number of incidents reported on at the individual level? Now let me clear one thing here. The technology that is being used at the back end to secure this entire infrastructure, which is your net banking or your payment platforms, is same. The only thing that differs is the awareness among the people, right? So let's talk about this same conversation in the various ecosystems that we are exposed to. So to do that, let me show you some headlines. So out here in both the pictures, what is the one thing that you see as common? It's smartness, right? So on a day-to-day basis, whatever we are using right now is smart. It's your smart refrigerators, smart TVs, smart applications, and whatnot. So the basic prerequisite in order to use these devices or application is for you to be at least smart, right? And smarter than the attacker who is trying to hack you, using these technology, these devices or the applications. So that is, that's all when we talk about the personal space of the individual. Now, what happens if the same individual enters into a professional space? So, yeah, the moment this person is exposed to the professional space, and if he or she lacks the required infosec awareness, then this person could become the entry point for the attacker in order to gain the access of the organization network and impacting the overall business, right? So another aspect that I want you to be, cognizant of is what is the personal information, pertaining to you that has been exposed in deep and dark web, right? So out here, I have taken an example of Zomato hack, wherein 17 million accounts were exposed on deep and dark web, and in the investigation, it was found that they were using MD5 hash algorithm. Now, if you're using a very normal password, let's say 12345, for an attacker, cracking that password using MT, which is secured using MD5 hashing, is very very easy. Now, why do we need to worry about our credentials being exposed? One is, most of the times we are using the same credential on multiple platforms. So if one of the breach, let's say, has exposed our credentials on the deep and dark web, any attacker could use those credentials, and if we have the same password or username for other platforms like social media handles, LinkedIn, so on and so forth, then they could this increases the probability of those platforms also getting breached. The second one, which is and this is, we have observed, especially in the lockdown, that the threat intel team in Lucidius have found that there is this a very popular technique called email extortion that has increased massively in the time of COVID. So what is this technique all about? This is basically an attacker getting access to your personal information. It could be your usernames, password, everything, anything that is being exposed in the deep and dark web, and then they basically reach out to you telling you that I have this information related to you, and they'll ask you some money, in lieu of keeping your secret, by creating a story around that. So what I meant to say here is, first of all, make sure that you are not using the same password for multiple platforms. Secondly, if you get such emails like the one I've taken as an example here for email extortion technique, then make sure that you do a research on Google, or maybe just simply put it out there so that you get to know that this is a technique that the hacker try to use in order to manipulate you and get some money out of you. So, with all these incidents that we discussed, the situation looks scary, right? So, the next question is what to do. So, and of course, how to do. So, the intent of this session is to give you a walkthrough of the security best practices of these 5 modules, which we interact very often on day-to-day basis. So I would cover, the email and online accounts security, how to use them in a secure manner. Phishing attacks, what are the techniques and tactics the attacker, use to create a phishing attack, and how can you identify an email that whether it's a legitimate one or is sent from the attacker. The next one is password security. I know most of you would say that this is very common, and we all know the nitty gritties about the password security. But trust me, after this session, you will have a different perspective altogether towards your passwords while you are creating them and using them. The next is social engineering, wherein we'll be talking about what are the ways that attacker can try to trick you, so that you can expose your to get personal information from you. And last but not the least is the financial transaction security, wherein I'll be talking about how to use your debit card or credit cards in a secure manner at platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, so on and so forth. So to start with the first module, which is email and online accounts as well as phishing attacks, let me take an example of a scenario here, right? Yeah. On my screen, what you see is it's an email received from an HDFC bank saying that 2000 INR has been debited from my account. And if I want to know more about the transaction, here is a button that is given. Now, as a normal end user, what I would do is, okay, I got this notification, it looks legitimate, and immediately, because I'm panicked, I don't know who did this transaction, I'll just immediately go and click on this button which is given there to know more about the transaction, and it will redirect me to the net banking page. Now till here I'm like, okay, yeah, because has a transaction happened. In order to know the details and the metadata about this transaction, I have to log in, right? And I will provide my username and password to log in into my net banking account. This is on the front side of it that you are seeing. What happens at the back end? Now there is an attacker who has created this phishing attack, and this is what the attacker gets to see. Now, the moment I enter my credential, the attacker is able to dump all of them in a plain text format. Now, what should I do in order to, prevent myself from being a victim of such attacks? Or how can I, identify whether it's a genuine mail, or whatever I have received, or whatever on whatever URL I have provided my credentials is a genuine website. So here is a couple of the pointers that you need to adhere to. First one is check for the domain name, right? The second one is to check on the picture at this icon. So most of the time, if it is sent by an attacker, you'll find here a question mark or an exclamation mark or a red sign, warning kind of thing, which you will not find in the genuine email that you receive from the HDFC bank. The second one is to look for the picture quality that is being used in the email. So most of the times the attackers download these images from the internet or other sources, which tends to degrade the image quality, right, and the resolution. While if you go to the HDFC Bank website, you will see that the picture has a far better clarity and as well as the resolution there. The third one is now, because most of the audience is aware in terms of whenever you receive a link in the email, you do not immediately go and click on that, because there have been so many scams like the Nigerian gold scam uh, that had taught us this lesson. So now what the attacker has done is, they have, again, they're very smart. What they managed to do is, they managed to hide the URL behind the buttons. So the moment you click this button, you will be redirected to the link where the attacker wants you to be. So whenever you receive such hyperlink buttons in the email, make sure you hover your mouse over the buttons, and you see what is the URL that it is trying you to redirect to, right? As I've shown in the example here. And from the domain and the URL, you will pretty much get some idea that whether it's a legitimate one or not. The next one is, also, while you being redirected to the net banking or some other page from the URL, make sure that the URL that you are seeing in the browser is looks legitimate. Now this one also, it looks legitimate one, right? But if you see carefully here, at after HDFC bank, in the bank, it's not the B, it's a Russian character called in a Cyrillic notation, which resembles to the B, but it's not B, which may, basically tells you that this is not the authentic URL to which you are redirected to. So that's on the phishing attack and the email security. Now what are the repercussion or the implications of the phishing attacks that happens in the organization? So especially in the professional space, if you see the very first example that I've taken here, a CEO is fired after the fake CEO email scam cost firm $47 million. So what happens is, no matter what kind of phishing attack it is, no matter who is the target audience, who gets trapped, ultimately it leads to a financial loss to the organization. And sometimes, of course, as the example says, jobs of your CEO, your CISO, or your CRO, which is there. So it is not just the IT team's responsibility now. It is more of a boardroom concern, wherein no matter who gets to be the victim of the phishing attack, ultimately it is the organization that has to suffer altogether. So as an individual, we need to make sure that we take this thing as a responsibility by making ourselves cyber aware, improving our awareness maturity periodically, so that we don't end up as a victim of these phishing attacks, and we contribute to the business in a very constructive and effective manner. So that's on the phishing and the email security part of it. A couple of more tips that you can have handy whenever you receive such mails. First of all is, if it looks wrong, it's probably wrong, right? If you are getting an intuition that this is not a right mail, this is not coming from a genuine source, it is probably wrong. Check the email addresses carefully. What happens most of the time is, the attackers tries to address you with the generic salutation like dear sir, dear ma'am, right? Because they are sending these emails in bulk. But your let's say your banks or your financial institutions address you with your first name most of the time. Watch for the impersonal introductions. Be cautious about web links. As I told you, whenever you see the web links in the email, make sure you, before clicking them, you hover your mouse over them to see what is the location that it is redirecting you to, right? Check for the redirection with HTTPS lock or not. Now this is a good to have thing, because it's not that difficult for an attacker to get an HTTPS lock for the malicious URL that they send to the people out there. And the last but not the least is the have enabled two-factor authentication. I'm sure in all of your organization this must be a mandatory requirement, but I would recommend you to use two-factor authentication for your personal social media applications or your personal usage as well. One more thing I would like to add here is most of the time when we receive such mails, there are a lot of spelling mistakes. And the reason is because the attacker does not pay much attention on the content of it, and there's no content team sitting at the back who is analyzing the entire content and the spellings, etc. So make sure that you go through the entire content, and if you see that there are any spelling mistakes, most probably it is not coming from a genuine source. There's some attacker behind it. So with that, we have covered our email accounts and phishing attack module. Moving to the next module, which is password security. uh, So before talking about this module, let me tell you one thing. When passwords got introduced, people were not aware, or they did not thought that there'll be so much computational power that the computers today have will be acquired ever. So what they did is they thought that whenever it is a password, it has to be a word, right? Now, why is your password so important? So, as you can see here, 81% of the company data breaches happen due to poor passwords, right? Equifax use default admin password for their, let me show you here, for their secured hack portal. This is really scary, right? Now, let's go ahead and see how can I measure the strength of my password. What is a good password, right? Before that, let me tell you what are the 4 types of password that are used in generally. The first one is character based password, and I'm gonna show you the strength also of all these passwords through a demo. So the first one is the character based password, wherein you're using characters, small or in caps letter. The second one is numeric password, wherein you are using digits from 0 to 9. The third one is complex password, wherein you are using special characters as your password. And most of the time, people think that if I am keeping my password as a special character password, then it's going to be secure, and it will be very difficult for the attacker to crack it. That's not true. That's a myth totally. Why? Because for a computer with a very high computational power, it doesn't matter whether it's a character or a number or a special character, right? It treats everything as a same. The last category is a complex password, which you must have heard about in a lot of of course in your organization, and a lot of other places as well, which recommends you to have a password of let's say length minimum 8, having one capital letter, one small letter, and a number and a special character, right? Now let's go to the demo, and yeah, so let me show you here. This is the site which is used to determine the strength of your password, and it also tells you the time that it's gonna take for an attacker to crack your password. So let's start with the first type of password that I told you. Let's say if I have a password of on my name, right? It's Gunjan. And one a piece of advice here is, whenever you are trying to assess and analyze your password, do not put the exact password at such places, right? Because it's recommended never to share your password, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use a similar password, which is very, very similar to my original password. And because here the length is same, let me go ahead and check what is the strength I'm getting if I keep my name as my password. So this is the strength, 400 milliseconds, which is, instantly rather. Now, what happen if I go ahead and let's say use a complex password? Takes 8 hours, right? Now, keep in mind, I am using a password with all the recommended settings. It has 8 character length, it has a capital letter, it has a small letter, it has a number and a special character. Still, it will take only 8 hours for an attacker to crack this password. So what is the solution here? So the solution here is to shift your mindset from password to a passphrase. So the moment we hear the word password, we try to think of a word, right? But actually we need to move to a different version, which is the phrase, wherein you start using your passwords as pass phrases, which could be a sentence, right? Now all of us remember that there was this phrase that was being used in our school days by our teachers so many times, and we never realized that what kind of password this phrase could become. Let's go and check it out. And if I paste it here, it's gonna take 800,000 years for an attacker to crack this password. So the key takeaway here is, it's not the complexity of the password that matters. Rather, it's the length of the password. And if you, I'm sure if you're gonna, add up all the other conditions, which is having a number, having a special character, it will drastically increase the strength of the password that you are using. And you can have any kind of password. Let's say I love cricket since 2012, or I've been using Facebook from let's say 5 years now. So all those kind of passwords which are very easy to remember as well as very hard to crack for an attacker. So apart from this, here are the key tips that you need to follow. Never use weak password. And as an example, I have given you a couple of passwords. So if you are using a password like that, you are in a very bad shape. I recommend immediately go and change your passwords. Never share your password because this is very something which is very, very personal and only you should know it. So recommend you to never share it with anyone. The same password, because as I told you, if your password one of your password got exposed to the attacker or the deep and dark web, then it increases the probability of the other platforms also getting breached which are having the same password, right? So here is a quick guide that I want you to take a screenshot of, which will come in handy whenever you are creating your passwords going forward. So with that, we have covered the 3 modules. Now we'll be moving to the next module, which is social engineering. And in our cybersecurity industry, this is a very known proverb. I would say that there is no patch to human stupidity. You can patch everything which is technology, if it is a cybersecurity product or it's a policy, but there is no patch to human stupidity. And to understand this better, let me tell you what are the components that contribute to this human stupidity which we are discussing here. So the first and the major component is greed. Most of the time, as part of social engineering, the attacker tries to take advantage of your greed by sending SMS or emails like, you got a lottery of so and so amount, and you need to share us the your account details so that we can transfer the money. Okay, the 10% contribution comes from the ignorance, wherein you are not aware and you don't know what is the do's and don'ts in scenarios like where an attacker is trying to do social engineering on you. The third one is fear. So sometimes we get emails like, if you don't let's say reset your credentials or do your KYC, then we'll stop, we'll close your account, we'll block your account. So these are predominantly the major contributors to the human stupidity. And nowadays, because all of us are on social media, we are sharing a lot of information on social media, what I'm eating, where I'm going, this is something which makes me happy, this is something which makes me sad, this is the time when I had my breakup and whatnot. Now what this entire information that you are vomiting out on these social platforms gonna do? So as an attacker, if I manage to get into your friend list, and with all this information, I get a fair idea about what kind of personality you are, right? Now with that idea, I would craft a tailored attack for you, wherein the moment you receive that, you'll see that, okay, if the person knows so much about me, definitely he or she must be some known. And also you don't remember that this is the information that you only have shared on social media platforms. So a piece of advice here is be very cautious and vigilant to what you share. And of course, when you are getting social engineering attacks, make sure that you're analyzing the email or whatever mode you are getting it in a very proper manner. So to cite an example of social engineering, I'm again gonna quote the Twitter attack here, wherein a lot of celebrities got their account hacked because there was a Twitter employee who was a victim of a social engineering hack that has been conducted. So these are the do's and don'ts. Dumpster diving, wherein never share some information which is critical and personal and important to the organization. Make sure you shred them properly rather than just throwing it away, because anybody as an attacker can do a dumpster diving and get gain access to those information. The other one is eavesdropping, when you're talking to somebody and somebody eavesdrop to your conversation and get the access to the confidential information which you are sharing with the other person. Shoulder surfing, wherein you're typing your password and somebody is standing at the back of your shoulder and um, is able to see what you're typing and inputting to the system. So that's on the social engineering module. The last one is the financial transaction security. So because in lockdown we have been interacting with the internet a lot more than we used to do earlier, and similarly there have been an increase in the financial transaction also that we have been doing earlier. So what are the do's and don'ts around using your credit and debit cards on, be it an online platform, for carrying out your financial transaction? So to talk about that, let me tell you first what is the card skimming thing called. So basically, in card skimming, what we do is we try to capture the details of the card, which is your credit or debit card, and it is mostly done in a legitimate ATM transaction. So let me show you how it is done. Out here on the left hand side, you see a standard skimmer device that has been placed on an ATM, and on the right hand side, you see a keyboard placed to basically capture your ATM pin. So what happens is, the moment you enter your card into this device and you swipe it, the all the information in the card that gets captured by the attacker, and then it will be used for carrying out the other fraud transaction from your account. So what to do in that case is how to make sure that it is not a skimmer that is being installed in the ATM that you are using. First of all, go and try to shake that device, basically the device where you insert your card, and if you feel that it is loose, then definitely it is tampered, and don't use your card in such ATMs. Similarly, on the keyboards, make sure that the keyboard that you are using is not loose and it is not one placed by the attacker there. The other thing is when we swipe the cards for carrying out transaction at hotels or movie halls. So what happens is, let me tell you one other example. So there was this hotel in UAE wherein whosoever visits the hotel, after let's say 10 or 15 days, the person used to get hacked. So after the investigation, what they found out that the transaction, the machine, the POS machine which you are seeing in the image that was being used at the reception was not the authentic one. It was placed by an attacker. So what happened is, the hotel has ordered a couple of POS devices, and in them during transit, the attacker replaced the authentic devices, the genuine devices, with the malicious one. So now whosoever was visiting the hotel and doing a swipe transaction with their cards on at the reception, all the data was being sent to the attacker, and they were all became a victim victim of the attack that the attacker did. So how to make sure that you don't fall a victim of such attacks? The first one is, as you can see in the picture, the the malicious machine would be bigger in size, and it will insert almost the entire card into it, while the legitimate machine that you're seeing on the right hand side enters only the 60% of your card. Around 40% of your cards remains out. Even if you try to forcefully insert it further, it won't allow you. So make sure whenever you are doing such transactions with your card, first of all, you do it in front of yourself. Don't share your card with the waiters or the hotel staff. And then you also make sure that the how much the card is being going inside the machine, in order to make sure that it is the legitimate machine that is being used by the hotel or the movie place which is there. So I think I've covered all the 5 modules. That's all from my side. I hope you had fun, and here is my LinkedIn link, which if you have any questions, you can just send me queries. I would be very happy to answer you. And with that, I would like to take questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Gunjan. I must say this has been one of the most insightful session for all of our viewers. Thank you so much. And to summarize, I can say that when it comes to any cybersecurity attack, people are definitely one of the weakest link. So if I have to talk about the key takeaways, I would say that when it comes to cybersecurity or any sort of crime, we have to make sure that security awareness is being done across all the organization, and we should remember this, folks, that security is everyone's responsibility. It is not something that the CEO or it starts from the basic person. It has if that would have been a security guard, or if that would have been a mid-level executive or CEO, it is a everyone responsibility, and it is a continuous activity. We cannot just say that we have done an awareness session, okay, this year, and now we are good to go. People come and leave, so we have to ensure that this remains a continuous exercise. And I would strongly say that let's start it from our home. We all have our grandparents, we all have our parents who may not be so tech savvy or so cybersecurity aware. So we can all do these small exercise, make them aware that when it comes to any fake calls, how can they react to such calls. So this is all have been very insightful, Gunjan. Thank you once again. And I would say stay safe to all of you, and stay tuned to our next series, and wish you all our viewers a very happy learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.